He was standing at the altar, in a sleek black suit, smiling like the happiest man in the world. Our guests were all seated, the church filled with flowers, music, and the smell of sweet perfume. I was behind the double doors, holding my bouquet, heart pounding, but not with joy, because I knew the truth. My fiancé, Daniel, the man I was supposed to marry in 5 minutes, had slept with my mother. And not months ago. Not years ago. It happened just last week, in our home, while we were preparing for the wedding. I found out 3 days before the ceremony. I had cried, screamed. I wanted to cancel the wedding, disappear, or burn everything to the ground. But something inside me changed. I didn't cancel the wedding. I turned it into revenge. As the music swelled and the door slowly opened, I stepped forward with a smile, knowing every eye was on me, including my mother's and Daniel's. They didn't know what I was about to do, but I did. And the moment I said, "Before we say our vows, I have a little story to share," everything changed. Let me take you back, before that day, before the heartbreak, before the betrayal, back to the beginning of this twisted story. My name is Claire. I'm 68 years old now, sitting in my quiet little home with a hot cup of tea and a memory I'll never forget. But back then, I was 26, young and full of hope. I was a school teacher in a small town in Georgia. Life was simple. I wasn't rich, but I had peace. I had friends. And most of all, I had my mom, Linda. My mother had me when she was just 18. She was beautiful, strong-willed, and always dressed like she was on her way to a fashion show. People used to think we were sisters. But behind all that beauty was a woman who never fully grew up. She loved attention, too much. And as I later learned, even if that attention belonged to her daughter's man, she wouldn't turn it away. I met Daniel at the grocery store. He was a construction engineer, tall, clean-shaven, and soft-spoken. The kind of man who helped old ladies carry their bags. We dated for a year. He was kind, gentle, thoughtful. Or so I thought. The first time I brought him home to meet my mother, I noticed something odd. Her lipstick got brighter, her dress a little tighter, and the way she looked at him, not like a mother should. But I brushed it off. She's just being her usual dramatic self, I told myself. Over the months, I saw little signs, small flirty comments, the way she laughed at all his jokes, how she touched his shoulder just a second too long. But again, I ignored it. I loved Daniel. And I trusted my mother. When Daniel proposed, I said yes with tears in my eyes. We were planning a spring wedding. My mother offered to help with everything, from the cake to the guest list. She was at our house almost every day, helping with fittings, choosing colors, and giving opinions even when they weren't asked for. But 3 days before the wedding, I came home early from school. I had forgotten my bag and needed to grab it before a late afternoon meeting. When I walked into the house, I heard giggling. I froze. It was coming from the living room. I stepped closer, and what I saw shattered me. There was my mother on the couch with Daniel, her hand on his chest, his hand on her waist, kissing, deeply, like they were in love. I dropped my bag. They both turned. Daniel stood up like a guilty child. My mother didn't even flinch. She just fixed her dress and said, "It was bound to happen sooner or later, Claire." I didn't scream. I didn't cry, not yet. I just walked out. For the next day and a half, I was a ghost. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I kept asking myself, why? Why my own mother? Why would the man I loved do this to me? I thought about canceling the wedding. But then, I thought of something else. Why not let the show go on? Why not give them exactly what they wanted? Let everyone gather. Let them dress up. Let them smile and sip wine. Then let me crush their perfect little secret in front of everyone they know. So I stayed silent. The night before the wedding, my mother came to my room pretending like nothing happened. "Sleep well, honey," she said, kissing my cheek. I wiped her lipstick off the moment she left. Now here I was, wedding dress on, walking down the aisle with my heart pounding. Not from joy, but from the weight of my revenge. As I got closer to Daniel, I saw him sweating. Maybe he thought I didn't know. Or maybe he thought I would never dare say anything. But I did. And just as the pastor asked if anyone had any reason why we shouldn't be joined in holy matrimony, I raised my hand. "I do," I said. Everyone gasped. Daniel's face turned pale. I have a reason. And I'd like to tell you all a story. Then I turned around and faced the guests, holding my voice steady. A week ago I caught my fiancé sleeping with someone else. Murmurs filled the church. And not just anyone, I continued. He slept with my mother. The entire room went silent. Daniel tried to stop me. My mother shouted, "Claire, don't you dare." But I wasn't finished. I turned back to the pastor and said, "So no, I will not marry him. But I do have a little video to show you all, in case you think I'm lying." I pulled out my phone and played the clip. I had placed a camera in the living room weeks ago after suspecting something, and it caught everything. I didn't care who saw. The truth needed to burn. The screen lit up. My mother's voice. Daniel's face. Their betrayal on full display. Gasps. Shouts. Someone dropped their champagne. My mother collapsed onto the pew, hiding her face. Daniel rushed out like a coward. And me? I stood tall. 'Cause for once, I wasn't the one being lied to. I wasn't the one being played. I was the one holding the microphone. But that's not where it ends. You see, that day my revenge was just beginning. When Daniel ran out of that church, and my mother buried her face in shame, you'd think that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. Because betrayal like that doesn't just disappear. It burns. It lingers. It carves holes into your soul. After I walked out of the church, still in my wedding dress, my heels clicking against the sidewalk, people called my name. Some followed me asking if I was okay. But I didn't answer anyone. I just wanted to be alone. I walked all the way to my car, threw the bouquet in the trash and sat there in silence, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. My whole life had just changed in 1 hour. My future, my family, everything I trusted, it was gone. But I wasn't crying anymore. No. I had cried enough the night I caught them. Now I was angry. Not just at Daniel. Not just at my mother. But at myself too. How could I not see it sooner? How could I ignore all those signs? I went home, took off that cursed dress, and stared at myself in the mirror. I didn't see a bride. I saw a fool. But I made myself a promise that night. They will both feel what I felt. They will feel the shame, the betrayal, the loss. The next day I changed my phone number. I took a week off work. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I drove out to a small cabin owned by my late aunt, far away from town. I needed to breathe, to think, to plan. Because my story wasn't over. And their actions would not go unanswered. The silence in the woods gave me clarity. I thought about how Daniel used to smile at me while he lied to my face. How my mother, my own blood, looked me in the eyes and pretended like nothing happened. That memory was the one that hurt the most. Because if a stranger hurts you, you can heal. But when it's someone you love, the wound stays open longer. I spent those quiet days writing everything down. Every time she flirted. Every moment I ignored my instincts. Every lie Daniel told. I wrote it all like a book. Page by page. Memory by memory. Then I remembered something I had forgotten. A letter. About 2 months before the wedding, I had found a note in Daniel's jacket pocket. I thought it was just a silly love note I had written him long ago. But when I opened it, it wasn't my handwriting. It said, "You taste like sin, and I want more." No name. Just that one chilling line. Back then, I convinced myself it meant nothing. But now, I knew who wrote it. My mother. And that's when the next idea came to me. I returned to town 2 weeks later. I didn't tell anyone I was back. Instead, I walked into the local printing shop and had every page of my handwritten story turned into a book. A small one, just about 100 pages. I titled it, "The Day My Mother Slept with My Fiancé." I printed 200 copies. Then I walked to every beauty salon, grocery store, and church group in town. I dropped off the book like free candy. "Real story," I said. "A woman in this town went through hell. You should read it." The news spread faster than fire in dry grass. By the next weekend, everyone was talking about it. Whispers on the sidewalk. Gasps in the bakery. Gossip in the salons. And my mother? She showed up at my doorstep that Sunday, wearing sunglasses and shaking with rage. "Claire, what have you done?" I opened the door slowly and smiled. "Just telling the truth. The part you forgot to tell." She tried to push her way in, but I blocked her. You ruined my name, she hissed. You ruined your own name the day you took what was mine. She slapped me, right across the face. I stood still. I didn't even flinch. Then I said the most painful thing I had ever said in my life. You are no longer my mother. I closed the door. She banged and screamed, but I didn't open it again. That night, I got a message from Daniel. A long text, full of apologies. Said it was a mistake. Said he was confused. Said my mother seduced him. That he still wanted me. That he loved me. I blocked him. But that wasn't the end of his lies. Because the next week I saw him. At a restaurant. With my best friend Lily. I was walking by when I noticed them. Their heads close together. Laughing. Whispering. And just like that, another crack opened inside me. Lily had been there during my engagement. She was my maid of honor. She had comforted me when I cried. And now she was dining with Daniel? My hands shook. I snapped a photo. No one saw me. I went home and cried. Not because of Daniel. Not even because of Lily. But because I felt like I had no one left. No mother.
No fiança.
No best friend. Just me. But loneliness can be powerful. When you hit rock bottom, you either stay there or you rise. And I was ready to rise, even if it meant standing alone. But that night, something happened that shook me deeper than anything else before. I woke up to a loud knock at my door. 3 sharp bangs. I looked at the clock, 2:47 a.m. I grabbed a flashlight, walked slowly to the door. When I opened it, there on my porch was a baby, wrapped in a blanket. No note. No sound. Just a baby, staring at me with big brown eyes. I stood frozen, the cold breeze brushing past my skin. The baby on the doorstep blinking slowly like they didn't understand where they were or why. And truth be told, I didn't either. I looked left and right. No car. No shadow. No sound of footsteps. Just that baby. Alone. Wrapped in a thin blanket with a tiny teddy bear beside them. My heart was racing. I bent down slowly, gently picked the baby up and whispered, "It's okay, little one. You're safe now." I brought the baby inside, wrapped it in one of my warm towels, and called the police. I didn't know what else to do. This wasn't just unusual. It was terrifying. While I waited, I noticed something. Tucked in the side of the blanket was a tiny piece of paper. I opened it. 5 words were scribbled in shaky handwriting. He said you'd protect her. My breath caught in my chest. Protect her? Who was he? Who was this child? And why was I the one they brought her to? The police arrived about 20 minutes later. 2 officers. They checked everything, asked a few questions, then took the baby with them to a child protection center. I stood at the door like a statue after they left. What was happening? This wasn't just about a cheating fiancé anymore. This was turning into something much, much bigger. The next morning, I went straight to the station. I needed answers. I asked the officer on duty if they found anything else about the baby. He looked at me with a tired face and said, "Ma'am, no ID, no fingerprints, nothing. But she's healthy, and social services are taking care of her now." I should have walked away. I should have left it to the system. But something inside me just couldn't let go. That little girl. There was something familiar about her. Her eyes. Those big brown eyes. Just like Daniel's. That's when the thought hit me like a truck. Could it be? No, it couldn't. Could Daniel have a baby? And was it with my mother? I rushed home. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys twice trying to open the door. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I spent hours looking through old messages, photos, anything I could find. I searched for signs. And then I remembered something Lily once told me, months before the wedding. She had casually said, "Your mom has been looking fuller lately, glowing, like someone with a secret." At the time I laughed it off. But now? I knew that glow wasn't from joy. It was from pregnancy. I called the hospital pretending to be my mother, and asked if they had any recent birth records under her name. They refused to give details but confirmed that Linda Williams was admitted for a private delivery 3 months ago. 3 months. That baby was my sister. And if Daniel was the father, that child was also his daughter. I felt my knees give way. I dropped to the floor and sobbed. This wasn't just betrayal. This was filth. This was deep, sick betrayal that no amount of time could erase. And yet, it wasn't over. Because later that evening I got another visitor. A woman in a red coat. I didn't recognize her. She knocked, smiled, and said, "Are you Claire?" "Yes," I answered, confused. She looked around, then leaned in close and whispered, "You don't know me, but I know Daniel. And you need to hear what he's planning." I froze. My whole body stiffened. She stepped inside, looked around, then said, "He's trying to sue you." "Sue me? For what?" "For defamation. For ruining his career. He's claiming you made up the whole story to destroy him." I nearly choked. He was going to sue me? After all he did? I was one of his girlfriends, the woman continued, looking down. He told me everything. I left him when I found out about the baby. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. You deserve to know what kind of monster he is. My head was spinning. I thought I had seen the worst. But now, not only had he cheated, fathered a child with my mother, betrayed me. Now he was planning to take me to court. I thanked the woman, got her number, and promised to call if I needed help. That night, I didn't sleep again. I wrote a long post and published it anonymously on a community website. I told the full story, no names, just facts. I called it "The Man with a Mask." Within hours, it started gaining traction. People commented things like, "This is the most disgusting betrayal I've ever read. If this is true, that man should be locked up. I think I know who this is about." The gossip was already spreading from my book, but now it was going viral. And it wouldn't stop there. Because the next morning, I received a letter on my porch. No name, no address. Inside it, just a single photo. A photo of Daniel, kissing another woman. And behind them, a calendar. It was dated 2 years before I even met him. He'd been lying from the beginning. My entire relationship was a lie. And the woman in the photo? I recognized her. It was a married woman in our church. Someone with a powerful husband. And now I had the proof in my hands. I was staring at a man who destroyed lives without blinking. A man who used women like they were paper napkins. But now, I had ammunition. And I was going to use it. Because revenge wasn't just about exposing the affair anymore. It was about ending Daniel's lies for good. And just as I thought I'd finally taken control, there was another knock at my door. I opened it, expecting another confession, another secret. But it was someone I never thought I'd see again. My father. The man who had abandoned us when I was only 7. And he had just 5 words to say. "Claire, you're in danger now." I stood frozen in my doorway, staring at the man who had vanished from my life over 30 years ago. My father, Thomas. The same man who left me and my mother without warning when I was just 7. The same man I grew up hating for not sending even a single birthday card. And now here he was. Gray beard, tired eyes, standing like a ghost from my past, and saying the words, "Claire, you're in danger now." I didn't know whether to slam the door or burst into tears. "What are you talking about?" I asked. He looked over his shoulder as if someone had followed him, then leaned closer. "It's Daniel. And your mother. They've gone too far. You've stirred up something you don't understand." I narrowed my eyes. "How do you know about Daniel? And how do you know anything about my mother after disappearing all these years?" He stepped inside slowly, cautiously. "Because I never lost track of her." "Not really. I had to leave, but I've always watched from a distance. And when I heard what happened at your wedding, I knew I had to come." I crossed my arms, still shaking. "Why now? Why not before everything fell apart?" He looked down at his hands. "Because I was a coward. But now your life is in danger, Claire." I didn't believe him at first. How could I? He wasn't there when I needed him. Why should I trust him now? But when he showed me the black notebook he had brought, a small leather book filled with notes, dates, photos, and receipts, my heart started to pound. Every page was a window into Daniel's past. There were records of payments, names of women, even court threats from someone who claimed Daniel had stolen from her. But the most terrifying part? The last page. It was a list of names. 5 women. 4 of them had filed complaints against Daniel in the past 10 years. All four had disappeared. One name wasn't crossed out. Mine. Claire. You were next, my father said softly. Your wedding was never about love. It was about control. About ownership. Daniel plays the long game. And your mother, well, she wasn't the first mother he's seduced. My knees buckled. I sat on the couch holding the notebook, feeling the world tilt around me. Are you saying Daniel has done this before? My father nodded. And every time he gets away with it, because the women turn up missing or silenced. But your stunt at the wedding? The book you wrote? The post that's going viral? You've cornered him. And a cornered predator is dangerous. A chill ran through me. My entire body felt cold. I looked out the window, half expecting Daniel to be standing there. But why would he leave a baby on my doorstep? I asked. If he's so dangerous, why risk that? My father's face turned pale. He didn't. What do you mean? He leaned forward, voice shaking. Daniel never planned to keep that baby. Your mother did. But something changed. She got scared. I believe she was the one who brought the child to you. Maybe out of guilt. Or maybe she thought giving you the baby would make you back off. I stood up, pacing the room. That poor child, she didn't ask for this. My father nodded. No, and neither did you. But now you have two choices. You can disappear for a while, lay low, let the fire burn out. Or you fight back, with everything you've got. But if you do, you need help. For the first time in years, I looked into my father's eyes and saw something familiar. Not a coward. Not a ghost. But a man who regretted his mistakes. And I needed all the help I could get. So I nodded. We fight. He smiled faintly. Then let's begin. The next morning, we started digging deeper. We contacted the woman in the photo. The one Daniel kissed 2 years before I met him. Her name was Rachel. She lived in the next town and hadn't spoken to anyone about Daniel in years. But when we showed her the photo, she went pale. Where did you get this? She asked. We just want the truth, I said. And slowly, painfully, she told us. She had met Daniel at a charity gala. He charmed her. Said all the right things. But once she got pregnant, he vanished. She tried to find him but got threats instead. Phone calls. Notes. Her car was even slashed once. She terminated the pregnancy out of fear. He ruins lives, she whispered. I thanked her and promised we'd stop him. Then my father suggested something wild. We need to talk to your mother. I laughed. Talk. She slapped me. Lied to me. Stole from me. Slept with my fiancé and gave birth to his child. But he was serious. She may be our only link to whatever Daniel's planning next. Reluctantly, I agreed. That evening, I stood on her porch with my father beside me. She opened the door and froze. Thomas, she whispered. I'm not here for you, he replied coldly. We need answers. She hesitated, then slowly stepped aside and let us in. Her house was spotless as always. A woman who kept up appearances no matter how rotten the truth was behind her eyes. We sat down. She wouldn't look at me. Why, mother? I asked quietly. Why would you betray me like that? Her lips trembled. She reached for a glass of water, but didn't drink. He made me feel seen, she finally said. I'm old. I'm fading. He made me feel young again. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So you ruined your daughter's life just to feel pretty? Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought it was just a fling. But then he got me pregnant, and when I tried to tell him, he laughed. Said I was just a game. My father's face turned red with anger. Linda, did you know what he did to the other women? She nodded slowly. He showed me files. Said if I ever opened my mouth, I'd be next. I thought leaving the baby with Claire might protect us. I stood up. Protect us? Or protect yourself? She cried, but I had no pity left in me. You're going to help us now, I said firmly. You're going to give us everything you know. Every email. Every call. Every message. She nodded, defeated. And just when I thought we had everything we needed, her phone buzzed. She looked at it. And her face turned white. She handed it to me. A text from an unknown number. You think this is a game? Tell Claire to back off. Or next time I won't leave the baby alive. My hands trembled. I looked at my father. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was war. I stared at the phone in my hand, the message burning into my skin like fire. You think this is a game? Tell Claire to back off. Or next time I won't leave the baby alive. For a moment the world went silent. I couldn't hear my mother crying. I couldn't hear the old wall clock ticking. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, thumping loud and fast like a war drum inside my chest. This wasn't just about secrets anymore. This was a threat. Against me. Against a helpless child. Against the only part of this whole nightmare that was truly innocent. I handed the phone to my father with shaking hands. His jaw clenched tightly as he read the message. Then he looked at me and said only one word. We're going to the police. My mother, Linda, spoke up from the corner. You can't. If you do, he'll know. He always knows. He has people. He'll disappear before they can catch him. My father turned to her, furious. So we do nothing? Let him roam free while he threatens a baby. Linda looked at me, eyes red. You don't understand. Daniel doesn't just ruin people. He erases them. Ask Rachel. Ask the others. You think those women just left town? No. He made them vanish. The fear in her voice was real. For once, I could tell she wasn't pretending. I took a deep breath. No, I said. I won't be scared anymore. He already took my heart. He already destroyed my name, my wedding, my trust, my peace. I have nothing else left to lose. But that baby? She hasn't even started her life yet. And I'll be damned if I let him destroy hers too. We left my mother's house, and I made one more stop before going to the police. The Child Protection Center. I needed to see her. They led me to a small room with colorful walls and toys everywhere. And there she was. Sleeping peacefully in a crib, as if the world hadn't tried to break her before she could even speak. I sat beside her and whispered, You don't know me, baby girl, but I'm going to fight for you. No matter what it costs me. After leaving the center, we went to the police station. I handed them the notebook my father had collected, the phone with the threatening message, and even the photos. They took everything seriously but also carefully. The officer assigned to my case was a quiet woman named Detective Renee. She was kind, firm, and patient. She told me, We've had whispers about this man before, but nobody's ever brought this much evidence. We're going to build a case, but it'll take time. Time. That was the one thing I felt I didn't have. The next few days moved slowly. I started staying with my father for protection. He had cameras around his house and knew how to stay hidden. I went out only when I had to, always watching over my shoulder. But Daniel was silent. No calls. No texts. No sightings. It was the quiet before the storm. And then the storm came. One morning I woke up and found the front gate open. My father swore he had locked it the night before. We checked the camera footage. And there it was. A shadowy figure in a hoodie. Standing at the gate at 2:11 a.m., staring directly into the camera, before covering it with a piece of black tape. He didn't try to come in. He didn't say a word. Just stood there watching. I felt sick. He was sending a message. I see you. I can reach you. That same day my former best friend Lily showed up at my door. I hadn't seen her since the day I caught her at dinner with Daniel. I didn't want to let her in. But I did. I needed to hear her side. She stood in my father's living room, fidgeting with her purse. I didn't know, Claire, she began. He told me you left him. That you ran away after the wedding. I believed him. Until I read your post. I didn't respond. I just stared at her, waiting. I'm not here to apologize, she continued, because I know sorry won't fix this. But I'm here to warn you. Daniel isn't just angry. He's obsessed. He said you humiliated him. He's gathering people to sue you, to paint you as a liar, mentally unstable. He has fake messages, fake photos. He's building a case to destroy your name. Tears welled in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Instead, I looked her straight in the eye and asked, Why are you really here, Lily? She paused, then whispered, Because I think I'm pregnant. My knees went weak. No. No. I sat down slowly. Is it his? She nodded. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was lonely. confused. And now I don't know what to do. I stared at her, my throat dry. You want my advice? She nodded. Run. That evening, I received a thick envelope in my mailbox. No return address. Inside? Court papers. Daniel was officially suing me for defamation, emotional distress, and intentional character damage. He was serious, but what shook me most was the final document in the stack. A custody petition. He was trying to claim the baby. The same baby he threatened to kill. The same child he abandoned. The baby he used as a pawn in this sick game. My hands trembled so violently I almost dropped the papers. I turned to my father. We have to stop him. We have to end this. Now. And then my phone rang. A blocked number. I answered, hands shaking. Daniel's voice came through, calm and evil. I warned you, Claire. You think this is a fight, but this is war. And you just picked the wrong enemy. I didn't respond. I just listened as he said one last thing. Tomorrow, you'll get a little taste of what I'm capable of. Then the call ended. And I looked at my father and said the only thing I could think of. I need to get to that baby. Now. I jumped out of my seat the moment that call ended. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. Daniel had made his move, and now so would I. We need to go, I said to my father, grabbing my coat. Right now. To the Child Protection Center. He didn't argue. He just nodded and grabbed his keys. We drove fast, barely stopping at the red lights, my heart pounding with every turn. What did Daniel mean by a taste? Was he going to hurt her? Kidnap her? Or worse? We arrived at the center just after 9 p.m. The building was quiet, with only a few lights still on. I rushed to the front desk, breathless. Please, I said. The baby, my baby sister, is she still here? Her name? Well, we don't know her name, but she was dropped off on my porch a few weeks ago. Social services. The woman behind the desk looked up, her face calm at first. Then her expression changed. She picked up the phone and whispered into it, then hung up. She's not here anymore. My world stopped spinning. What? What do you mean she's not here? I asked slowly. She was picked up an hour ago, the woman said. By her legal guardian. He had a court order. Legal guardian? I gasped. Who? She looked at her screen, then back at me. A man named Daniel Roberts. My scream startled everyone in the lobby. No. No, no, no. You gave her to him? He's not safe. He's dangerous. He's lying. He forged that order. Security came rushing. My father held me as I fought them off. He's going to hurt her. He doesn't want the child, he wants me. The director of the center came out a few minutes later, calming everyone down. After I explained everything, the threats, the message, the lawsuit, the police investigation, they finally began to realize something was wrong. They made a few calls. And that's when the truth spilled out like poison. The court order was fake. It had been printed and signed using a forged judge's signature. Daniel had walked right in, smiling, confident, and taken the baby like she was a package on a shelf. And now she was gone. I collapsed in the hallway. For the first time in weeks, I truly felt like I had lost. We called the police immediately. Detective Renee met us at the center within the hour. She confirmed everything. The order was fake. A warrant was being issued. Daniel was now wanted for kidnapping, fraud, and threats. But none of that mattered if we couldn't find the child. I sat on the cold tile floor, shaking and sobbing. Where would he take her? Where would he go? My father knelt beside me. He won't go far. He wants control, not distance. He wants to stay close enough to keep watching you. Then I remembered something. A cabin. Daniel once mentioned his grandfather had a cabin near the woods about 30 miles out of town. He used to go there when he needed to get away. I had brushed it off at the time, thinking it was just a hunting lodge. But now, it felt too real. I told the police. Detective Renee sent 2 officers there immediately. While we waited for updates, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't blocked. It was Daniel. He had sent a photo. The baby. In a crib. Next to a window. Behind her nothing but trees. And the caption. She cries a lot. Maybe she misses her big sister. You have 24 hours. I dropped the phone. My chest tightened. The walls felt like they were closing in. Please, I whispered. Let her be okay. Then another message came in. Come alone. You tell the cops, she disappears forever. Detective Renee read the message and sighed deeply. Claire, we can't let you walk into this trap alone. I don't care, I snapped. She's just a baby. She doesn't deserve this. I will go. Renee looked at my father, then back at me. Okay, we'll do it your way. But you won't really be alone. The plan was risky. I would go to the cabin, wearing a hidden wire and a tracker in my shoe. The team would stay back, monitoring everything, waiting for a signal. But if Daniel suspected anything, he might run, or worse. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I held the photo of that little girl and promised myself, no matter what happens, I'm bringing you home. The next morning, I drove toward the woods. The air was cold, the sky gray and heavy with clouds. I followed Daniel's directions exactly, and there it was. A small, rundown cabin in the middle of the forest. One single window. No cars outside. I parked the car and stepped out slowly, my heart banging like a drum in my chest. As I got closer, the door opened. Daniel stood there. Hair messy. Eyes cold. He smiled. You came. I didn't smile back. Where is she? He stepped aside. Inside. I walked in slowly. My eyes scanned every corner. And there she was. In the back room in a crib, sucking her thumb, unaware of the storm raging around her. I ran to her, scooped her up, held her tight. She's fine, Daniel said calmly. I fed her. Changed her. I'm not a monster, Claire. I turned slowly, tears running down my face. You are, I said. You're the worst kind. The kind that looks gentle, while setting everything on fire. He laughed. You always had a way with words. What do you want, Daniel? He walked closer. I want you to take it all back. The book. The posts. The interviews. All of it. You ruin me, I ruin you. You already ruined me. No, he said coldly. This is just the beginning. Suddenly, the radio buzzed in my ear. A faint signal. The team was in place. Now all I had to do was stall. But Daniel's hand suddenly reached behind his back. And that's when I saw it. A gun. He pointed it straight at me. Hand her over. Now. I held the baby tighter. No. He stepped forward, finger near the trigger. And that's when the front door exploded open. Police. Dropped the weapon. Officers rushed in from every side. Daniel spun around, but it was too late. He was tackled, pinned to the floor, handcuffed while still screaming. I'll destroy you, Claire. This isn't over. But it was. It was over. For him. They took him away. I held the baby as tightly as I could, crying so hard I couldn't even speak. Later that night, back at the station, Renee sat across from me. He's gone, she said. No bail. No escape this time. I nodded slowly. Then she added, but there's one more thing. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a DNA report. The results were clear. Daniel was the baby's father. But Linda was not the mother. I blinked. What? I whispered. Renee nodded. The woman who gave birth wasn't your mother. It was someone else. But then who dropped her on my doorstep? Renee looked at me seriously. We're still trying to find out. But we think someone out there wanted this baby safe. And for some reason, they believed you were the only one who could do it. I looked down at the baby in my arms. Still nameless. Still a mystery. But finally safe. Or so I thought. Because just as I was leaving the station, a car pulled up outside. The window rolled down. And a familiar voice whispered from the back seat. You found the baby, but not the truth. Then the car sped off. That voice, the one that whispered from the back seat, froze me in my tracks. You found the baby, but not the truth. It wasn't Daniel's voice. It was softer, feminine, calm, but chilling. I ran toward the street, but the car had already sped off into the darkness. No license plate. No chance to see who was inside. Just a message, and more mystery. What truth? I whispered to myself, clutching the baby tighter in my arms. Detective Renee ran outside when she saw me standing frozen. What happened? I shook my head. I don't know. A woman. She said something strange. Renee's eyes narrowed. Get inside. We'll check the cameras. We reviewed the footage together, and there it was. The car, a black sedan, slowly driving past the station. The camera caught the shape of a face, just barely. But when Renee zoomed in, my heart skipped. The woman in the back seat had red lipstick and a scar under her left eye. I knew that face. Not well, but I had seen it before. In one of the photos inside my father's notebook. She was one of the women Daniel had been with before me. Vanessa. Her name was written next to the word. Disappeared. But she was alive. And watching me. And warning me? Or threatening me? I couldn't tell. That night, I barely slept. I rocked the baby back and forth. Her tiny body curled against mine. The only peace I had was the sound of her breathing. I named her Hope that night. Because despite everything, she was still here. Still breathing. Still safe. She was hope. My hope. In the morning, Renee called. She had news. You need to come to the station. Now. We found something inside Daniel's cabin. I packed up baby Hope and drove as quickly as I could. At the station, Renee led me into the evidence room. She laid out photos, documents, and one worn-out leather journal that Daniel had hidden beneath a loose floorboard. Inside that journal were lists. Lists of names, dates, payments, women, doctors, even adoption agencies. This is a trafficking ring, Renee said quietly. And Daniel was right in the middle of it. He wasn't just charming women for fun. He was recruiting, selling, controlling. My stomach turned, and then I saw it. My name, dated 2 months before our engagement. Beside my name a note. High value, clean record, emotional wounds, easy to manipulate, goal, long-term investment. I wanted to throw up. I had never been a fiancé to Daniel. I had been a project, a target. Renee placed a comforting hand on mine. Claire, you were never the only one. But you might be the only one still standing. I looked at the rest of the journal, flipping through page after page. And then, I saw Vanessa's name. Not crossed out, not labeled as missing. But under her name was a chilling sentence. She knows too much. Watch the child. Might act out. Child? Could it be Hope? Do you think Vanessa is Hope's mother? I asked. Renee nodded. We believe so. She might have been the one who left Hope with you. But why? I asked. Why not keep her baby safe herself? Renee sighed. Maybe she couldn't. Maybe she was trapped. Or maybe she believed you were the only one who wouldn't sell her out. One thing is clear, Vanessa is not done. And she's close. As I drove back home with Hope in the back seat, my mind was racing. I was no longer just a woman trying to heal from betrayal. I was a guardian, a protector. And now I was deep in a web of secrets that stretched far beyond Daniel. Later that evening, I sat down with my father. I showed him the journal. He read through it slowly, then looked up with a distant gaze. I failed you, Claire, he said. I wasn't there when your life was first torn apart. But I will be here now. We'll find Vanessa. And we'll end whatever Daniel started. We made a plan that night. We'd track Vanessa. We'd reach her. We'd find out the truth. The full truth. Because something told me, Daniel wasn't the head of the snake. He was just another tail in a monster much larger than we imagined. And I was about to find out how deep the hole went. But before we could act, our power went out. The house plunged into darkness. Then a bang. Not a knock. Not thunder. But a gunshot. Through the window. Glass shattered across the living room. I dropped to the floor, covering Hope with my body. My father rushed in yelling, "Stay down." More shots followed. 3. Then silence. We didn't move for what felt like an hour. When the police finally arrived, they found bullet holes in our walls and a note taped to our front door. It was written in red ink. Stop digging. Or next time, we don't miss. We weren't just uncovering secrets now. We were in a war we never asked for. And someone wanted us dead. The night after the shooting, I sat on the floor with Hope in my arms, rocking her gently. though my body trembled with every breath. Glass still littered the corners of the room. The bullet holes in the wall stared at me like open wounds. The police had come and gone. Neighbors peeked through their windows but stayed quiet. Everyone was afraid, as now they knew. This was more than just a family issue. This was a war. And it had followed me home. The officers posted a car outside for protection, but deep down, I knew it wouldn't be enough. Not against people who could forge court papers, steal children, and shoot without fear. That night I didn't sleep. My father stayed awake too, guarding the front door with an old hunting rifle across his lap. He looked like a man who had aged 10 years in one night. And I felt like I had lived 100 lifetimes in 8 chapters of hell. Around 4 a.m. my phone buzzed. A message from a private number. She left something behind. The truth is buried where it all began. Attached was a location pin. It led to an old abandoned house on the far edge of town. A place I hadn't seen since I was a little girl. My childhood home. The house my mother and I had lived in after my father left. It had been abandoned for years, falling apart from neglect. But now suddenly it was back in my life. I stared at the pin, the message, the name of the sender. Vanessa. She was reaching out again. But this time not to warn. She was leading me somewhere. I waited until sunrise, then told my father what I was going to do. He shook his head. You're not going alone. So we packed Hope's diaper bag, wrapped her warmly, and drove together. The sun barely pierced the clouds that morning. The old road was bumpy, the trees heavy with silence. When we arrived at the house, it looked worse than I remembered. Broken windows, rotting wood, dead leaves piled at the door. But there was something strange. The front door was slightly open. My father went in first, holding his rifle high. I followed behind, carrying Hope close. The house smelled of mold, dust, and old secrets. We stepped carefully through the living room, memories flashing in my head of a younger me coloring on the rug while my mother paced the kitchen, talking to some man on the phone. Everything was still. Until we heard it. A creak upstairs. Someone was there. We moved slowly up the staircase, each step groaning under our weight. And then in the old master bedroom we saw her. Vanessa. Standing by the window facing the light. Her red lipstick was faded, and her scar was clearer now, like someone had once tried to silence her with a blade. She didn't flinch when she saw us. She simply turned and said, "You came." I stared at her, unsure whether to cry, scream, or thank her. "You're alive," I whispered. "I shouldn't be," she said softly. But I had to make sure she was. Her eyes moved to Hope. "She's mine," she added, tears in her voice. "I gave birth to her in secret. Daniel never knew. But your mother found out, and tried to take her." I gasped. "My mother?" Vanessa nodded. "She was deeper into Daniel's business than you think. She helped him lure women, promised them protection. Then she disappeared once they got pregnant or vulnerable." "No, Ibrata." "No, my mother. She didn't start it," Vanessa said gently. "But she stayed in it. She made her choices." I was shaking. The truth was a boulder on my chest. "I tried to run," Vanessa continued. "But I couldn't protect Hope alone. I was being followed. So I left her with you. I knew you were strong. You had already broken free." She stepped forward and reached into her coat pocket. "I came back here to find this." She pulled out a flash drive, small, black, cracked on the edge. Every name, every location, every transaction, Daniel's entire trafficking operation. "It's all on here." She handed it to me. "It's enough to bring the whole ring down." I clutched it like gold. "But why now?" I asked. "Why give it to me?" She looked at me with tired, honest eyes. "Because I'm dying," she said. "They poisoned me before I escaped the last time. I don't have long. But if you expose them, my death won't be useless. And my daughter will grow up free." I couldn't stop the tears. I hugged her gently, whispering, "I'll protect her. I promise." She smiled weakly. Then her knees buckled. We caught her before she hit the floor. My father called 911, but I already knew. Her skin was pale. Her breath faint. Vanessa died in my arms. Not screaming. Not in fear. But finally in peace. I held Hope close and whispered, "Your mama was a warrior. Later that day, Detective Renee met us. We gave her the flash drive. She cried reading the first few files. This wasn't just about Daniel. This was a network. Politicians, doctors, judges. All involved in child trafficking and abuse. It was bigger than we imagined. And we were now the center of it. That night, as I tucked Hope into her crib, safe and warm, I kissed her tiny forehead and whispered, "You have so many people who tried to steal your future. But they didn't win. We did." Just as I sat down, tired but grateful, my phone buzzed again. No number. Just a video. I pressed play, and what I saw chilled me to my core. It was a grainy security camera clip of my father talking to Daniel 2 weeks before our wedding, laughing, shaking hands, exchanging an envelope. The message beneath the video said, "You thought you knew who betrayed you, but the real snake has always been beside you." I dropped the phone. My father's voice called from the hallway. "Claire? Everything okay?" I couldn't breathe. I couldn't blink. I couldn't move. I just sat there, staring at the video on my phone, the grainy security footage showing my father, the man who saved me, the man who stood by me when everyone else vanished, shaking hands with Daniel, laughing, smiling, passing an envelope. It didn't make sense. He hated Daniel, didn't he? He protected me, fought for me, stood between me and death. So why was he meeting the man who tried to destroy my life before the wedding? The knock on my bedroom door pulled me out of my daze. "Claire?" My father's voice called again. "I made tea. You want some?" I quickly closed the video and stuffed my phone under the blanket. My heart raced so fast it hurt. "Yeah," I called back, trying to sound normal. "Coming." But I wasn't normal. Something inside me had cracked. I walked to the living room slowly, Hope cradled against my chest. My father was in the kitchen, pouring tea like nothing was wrong. He smiled when he saw me. "You look pale, honey. Long night." I nodded, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just tired." We sat down, tea between us. Hope fell asleep in my arms, her little chest rising and falling peacefully, while I felt like the entire house was caving in on me. My father took a sip. "You've been brave, Claire. More than I ever was. I just want you to know. I'm proud of you." I nodded slowly. "Thanks, Dad." But the question inside me was burning a hole through my throat, and I couldn't hold it anymore. I set my cup down, then looked straight at him. "Why did you meet with Daniel before the wedding?" His hand paused midair. Then slowly he set his cup down too. The smile on his face vanished. "What did you say?" he asked too calmly. "I saw the video. You and Daniel. 2 weeks before the wedding. An envelope exchanged." He leaned back, exhaling through his nose. "You weren't supposed to see that." My chest tightened. "So it's true." He rubbed his face, the weight of decades showing in his eyes. "Yes," he said quietly. "It's true." "But why, Dad? Why him? Why then?" He looked away for a long moment before answering. "When I left you and your mother all those years ago, it wasn't because I didn't love you. It was because I was running from something. I owed people, bad people, a lot of money. I made some terrible choices. Got mixed up with the wrong crowd. When I tried to start over, Daniel found me." My hands trembled. "He said he could clear my debt," my father continued. "Said all I had to do was help him with something small. Just watch you from a distance. Report on how you were doing. Whether you were lonely, vulnerable. I didn't know what he was planning at the time. I swear to you, Claire, I didn't know." I stared at him, tears flooding my eyes. "You were spying on me." "I was protecting you," he whispered. "I never gave him anything that could hurt you. When I realized he planned to marry you, I tried to back out. That envelope before the wedding. I gave him back the money. I told him I wouldn't be part of it anymore. That's when he threatened me. Said if I didn't stay quiet, you'd suffer." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Everything, every kind word, every hug, every promise. All of it was tangled in lies. "You let me fall in love with a monster," I said, my voice shaking. "You let me walk into that wedding blind." "I was going to stop it," he said. "I swear. That's why I came back. I didn't know it would spiral like this." I stood up slowly, holding Hope tighter. You knew who he was. And you let him into our lives anyway. I thought I could handle it, he shouted, suddenly standing too. I thought I could protect you both. Hope whimpered in my arms. I stepped back. I don't know who you are anymore, I whispered. And I don't think you ever really knew me. He tried to reach for my hand. I pulled away. I'm sorry, Claire, he whispered, tears welling in his eyes. I failed you again. But I'm still your father. No, I said. You were my father. But you don't get to be anymore. I turned and walked out, holding Hope close. I needed space. I needed truth. And more than anything, I needed answers from the only other person who might still be out there holding secrets. My mother. I hadn't spoken to her since Vanessa died. But now the final pieces had to come together. I drove to her house in silence. Hope slept through the entire ride. When I knocked, the door creaked open. She had seen me through the curtain. Claire, she whispered. I need to talk to you, I said. She stepped aside. The house was quiet, dark, dusty. She hadn't been doing well. I know about Daniel. I know about the trafficking. I know about Vanessa. About Hope. She sat down slowly. I was hoping you wouldn't find everything out. Well, I did, I said. And now I need to know one thing. Why? She didn't look at me. Instead, she spoke to the floor. After your father left, I was alone. Angry. Bitter. Daniel found me. He offered money. Security. Said I could help other young women. Said I was giving them opportunities. At first, I believed him. And when you realized what he was really doing? She finally looked up. I was already too deep. I was scared. And I was selfish. Is Hope really Vanessa's daughter? I asked. She nodded. Yes. Did you try to take her from her mother? Her hands shook. Daniel wanted her gone. Vanessa refused. I tried to help by taking the baby away before he could. I thought leaving her on your doorstep would protect her. I closed my eyes. So many lies. So many broken pieces. I stood up to leave. I'm reporting everything you just said. I told her. You'll have to answer to the law. Just like Daniel. She didn't argue. I know, she said. Maybe it's time. I turned to go. But just as I reached the door, she called after me. Claire. I stopped. She looked up with hollow eyes. There's something else. Something even Daniel didn't know. My heart skipped. What? She opened a drawer and pulled out a folded photo. Old. Worn. It was me as a baby. Held in the arms of a woman I didn't recognize. That woman, she said, is not me. I stared at the picture speechless. What are you saying? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I adopted you, Claire. The room fell into silence. Not a soft silence, but the kind that presses into your ears, into your soul. I looked at my mother. No, the woman I had called mother all my life. As her words rang over and over in my head. I adopted you, Claire. I could barely stand. All the pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak, now this? I don't understand, I whispered, clutching baby Hope tighter against my chest. Why would you keep that from me? Why now? She sat down slowly, her hands trembling. You were only a few months old, she said. Your biological mother was a young girl, barely 16. She left you at a church doorstep. I had just lost a baby of my own. I begged the woman in charge of the adoption desk. Paid extra. I didn't go through the system. It wasn't legal. I just wanted to be a mother. I shook my head, stunned. So you lied to me my whole life? I was scared you'd leave, she said softly. I never meant to hurt you. I loved you the only way I knew how. I looked down at Hope in my arms. This innocent child who was almost stolen, almost killed, almost turned into a pawn in a world full of monsters. And now, I understood. Hope and I were the same. Unwanted by the people who made us. Used by the people who raised us. But somehow still alive. Still fighting. Still standing. I don't hate you, I said quietly. But I don't trust you either. Not anymore. She nodded, her face wet with tears. I understand. I turned to leave, but paused one last time. Who was my real mother? I asked. She looked down at the floor. I don't know her name, she said. But she had the same eyes as you. And when she placed you in my arms, she whispered, "Don't let the world hurt her like it hurt me." Those words would stay with me forever. I walked out of that house feeling like I had lost everything, and yet gained clarity. That night, I sat by Hope's crib. I stared at her little face and whispered, "You have a long road ahead, but I will never lie to you. I'll never let this world turn you into a secret." The next morning, I met with Detective Renee. We submitted the flash drive to the federal authorities. The investigation exploded. Names of high-level officials came crashing down on the news like a falling house of cards. Daniel's network was destroyed. And he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But none of that made the pain disappear. Not fully. I cut off contact with my father. He tried to call, to write, but I couldn't forget that he had watched me walk into the arms of a predator just to erase his own shame. I forgave him, but from a distance. As for the woman I once called mother, she eventually turned herself in for aiding Daniel. She faced her sentence quietly, never asking me for anything again. Months passed. Hope grew stronger. So did I. I started therapy. I joined a foundation for victims of human trafficking and abusive marriages. I began speaking at events, telling my story, not because I wanted pity, but because I wanted to wake people up. One day, after a seminar, a young woman walked up to me in tears. She whispered, "Your story gave me the courage to leave." And in that moment, I knew everything I had endured, everything I had lost had a purpose. I was no longer a victim. I was a voice, a survivor, a protector. And as I rocked Hope to sleep one quiet evening, I kissed her tiny cheek and whispered, "You may not have been born from my body, but you were born from my heart." This wasn't the life I planned, but it was mine, filled with cracks, scars, and broken pieces, but still whole, still standing, still beautiful, just like me. Subscribe to my channel for more stories of strength, survival, and the truth that must be told.